Hello, and thanks again for joining us for another Fathom live stream show dedicated to giving you tips and insights from experts and professionals in and around the real estate industry. I'm your host, Jeff Sturtz. This is like our 14th or 15th show or something like that. We've got a lot of content. If you haven't caught some of the last shows, maybe this is your first time joining us, maybe not, go back and watch some of that stuff. There's a lot of good content from some amazing guests there, and I'm looking forward to what we have today as well. Remember, if you've been here before, you can share, you can comment, whether that's on Facebook or YouTube, and if you do so during the show, we will automatically enter you into the contest, and I'll talk more about that in just a minute here. So go ahead and comment, give us a shout out, say, hailing from, wherever you are, and we'll enter you into that contest. So that contest then gives you the opportunity to win one of four prizes. You can win a yard side package valued up to $200, a photo listing package for your next listing up to $200, an OnTarget transaction if they're operating in the state that you are operating in, as well as $200 worth of GoSocial agent leads. So you get one of those four or leads services. So you get one of those four prizes. Also, if you haven't hit the notification bell on YouTube, if that happens to be where you're watching it from, go ahead and do that. That way you don't have to remember or set it in your calendar when we go live. It'll just come right across your phone or computer there on your notifications. Also, I will mention, we have a prize to follow up from last week. Let's go ahead and do that here. And we're going to do it our fancy pants technology way here with our wheel. This wheel actually has a lot of names on it from last week. So here we go. We are going to find out who is our lucky winner. Here we are, and it is, still spinning, it is Keith Campbell. So Keith is actually going to be our next week's guest. So what a lucky guy. So congratulations, Keith. We'll look forward to having you on the show next week. That's how it works. We don't have any biases here. If you comment on the show, you get entered. We are also continuing to try to provide you the most valuable content that we can. So if you have a guest, or if you think I might make a good guest yourself, go ahead and message us below. You can message our Fathom Facebook. Probably the best way would be to email marketing@fathomrealty.com. Let us know that you are interested, or you know somebody that might be interested in being on the live show, and we'll reach out to those individuals. Again, our guest today is Mike Capobianco. Before we bring him on, though, I want to tell you about the good folks over at GoSocial Agent. They will help you by offering affordable and effective social media marketing, helping you grow your business online, including social media account setup, automated postings, agent-branded articles, buyer and seller handbooks, Facebook ad campaigns, and more. So check them out at GoSocialAgent.com to get started, and they are one of the four prizes that you could win if your name is chosen. One last thing here. This is an interactive show, so if you would like to, and people are already commenting here on YouTube, and I would assume on Facebook here, I'll check that in a moment. If you have questions during the show for our guest, go ahead and throw them out there, and if we have time, if it kind of fits into what we're doing, we would be happy to field those questions and answer them, or give them a shot here on the show. That's all the blah, blah, blah stuff out of the way. Mike Capobianco is with us. Mike, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Josh.
And you are in California. And yes. What part of California? Palm Springs area?
No, Orange County.
Orange County. Excuse me. All right. Orange County, California. Mike has taught live real estate classes to over 100 students. He opened up his own real estate school, online school. He's married, has a son who's an engineering major. He's a black belt Taekwondo who's taught 300 students, trained in Korea. Now, tell me about where you trained in Korea. This is a significant place, correct?
Yes, it was a significant place. We went to the Cookie One. It's kind of like the Vatican for Catholics. Everybody goes there to train, education. It was an incredible experience, yes.
Very good. And then also, you sold REO properties for a couple of years. So you have a lot of experience in that. Beyond just traditional real estate, we're going to talk about manufactured homes. But first, I want to hear about how you had two 21st birthdays. So how did that happen?
Oh, well, I was with a friend of mine. I had met him in New Zealand when I was 18 years old, and we had made a pact to meet up again in South Australia. And we had a birthday celebration. I turned 21 in Sydney, and then when I landed back in the United States, I gained another day. So my mom picked me up, and we went to Vegas and celebrated my 21st birthday.
Very good. Very good. Well, I mean, that's the best way to do it, right? So if you want to have two birthdays or any holidays, then get on one side of the world and then come back to the other. Well,
Yes.
let's get started here then. How did you get into real estate?
Real estate. Got into real estate back in 2000. I had retired on disability from my previous employer. I got in probably when the market was a little bit soft, and I started out doing loans for a nationwide mortgage broker. I did about, I don't know, 4 or 5 loan deals, and then as the mortgage implosion happened, I ended up being the only loan officer out of 89 in that particular company that had a real estate sales license. So that's kind of how I started out with real estate, and I started selling properties back then.
And so then recently, you have been finding a lot of success doing manufactured home sales, and
Yes.
even to the point of being able to produce at a rate of a six-figure income during a year's time. What is the math? I know we're going to talk a little bit about fees and how all of that works, and it's a little bit different than traditional real estate. But how do you figure that? How do you get a six-figure income out of selling manufactured homes?
Oh, that's a good question. So basically, Jeff, when you sell a manufactured home, the fees are significantly different than if you do a traditional transaction for a condo or a house, where we typically, as realtors, we're charging anywhere from 2 to 7%. So manufactured housing costs for sale typically $600 to $7,500 for transaction, and to get to that six-figure income, I would typically keep 4,000, and I would offer off to the selling agent $2,500.
Gotcha. And so you do a couple of those a month, and you're
Do two exactly. And so what happens is if you get a good significant amount of listings in your portfolio, you'll sell maybe 2 to 3 a month. So, and if you specialize in the senior manufactured home parks, the senior clientele don't really shop you, so they're pretty much loyal. So with all the marketing we have and advantages in real estate as realtors on the traditional side, we still go to the same channels, social media, and the chances of you representing both the buyer and the seller are typically greater. I know some states are not allowed to do the dual representation, but in California we are.
very good. So, as far as let's talk a little bit about the differences between selling manufactured homes versus traditional real estate. Why is manufactured home sales? Why is that market a market that agents should consider that maybe they aren't?
Well, that's a really good point there. So what happens is in I'd say probably 15, 20 years ago, everybody was going to retire. They're going to buy the motor home and tour the U.S. Well, obviously that's not the trend for most of the people these days. So as we get older, people are looking to find senior housing for their mom, their dad, their brother, their uncle, their sister, the aunt, whoever it may be. And it's more affordable for them to buy a senior manufactured home and then bring in later on when needed an in-home care person. So it's less expensive. It's a little costlier. So the way I kind of got into this is I started meeting a lot of people that had houses and they wanted to downsize and purchase a manufactured house. So I still get tons of business from residential sales from my clients. At the same time, instead of referring them over to another person because I didn't know how to do the manufactured. I do both, and so I keep the client.
Very good. So, what makes selling manufactured homes, the actual process, then different than a typical real estate sale? And I know, there's, and maybe we'll talk about this in a little bit here too. But just you're selling something on somebody else's property in a sense. But
Yes.
what's the big difference between just regular residential real estate?
Okay, there's a huge difference because when you have a condo or a townhome, it's basically you own the airspace within it. So you're basically getting qualified for the loan. You're buying the property, you own the airspace within it, and the loan and the guidelines are accordingly. Whereas when you buy a manufactured home, 99% of them are on leased land. So on traditional real estate, we get pre-qualified for a certain amount based on our income and our credit and our credit and our debt to income. Whereas in a manufactured home, you get pre-qualified based upon a particular property. And the reason being because the age of the home in a manufactured home, it dictates how much of a down payment that you'll need to put up. And it also dictates the amount that you qualify for. And of course, everything is kind of complicated. They throw in the space rent. So when you do your debt to income on a traditional purchase, they calculate all your debt to income. And when you purchase with a manufactured home, you typically need to make 2 to 3 times your monthly debt to purchase a manufactured home. So the monthly debt would include the space rent, your loan payment on the property, and any of your revolving credit card, student loans, co-signing, anything that you are involved with. So it's a very, very complex procedure, and for the sake of this discussion today, I mean we could go in more detail on that later if you want. But it's a little bit of a knack in knowing how to do this, and it's fairly easy, if you just approach it straight on.
Gotcha. So don't think of it as it's an entirely different kind of sale. Don't think of it as just a regular home sale. There's a different process, different paperwork, and even
Yes.
different commission, right? So typical real estate, you get 2 to 3% commission on a sale. Is it the same way where there's a percentage split? Maybe you'd mentioned this earlier, but could you
Yeah.
go into that a little bit?
That is, if you're selling a used manufactured home, say in like 1978, and the sales price is 50,000, you obviously, you don't want to charge 2% or 3% because it's only $1,500. So that's why we just charge a flat fee. Now, when you get into the manufactured homes that are in the 180 to 200,000 price range, then you can maybe traditionally go back to the 4%, 3% offering to the selling agent. Yeah.
And as far as if I'm a realtor, can I just go out and start selling manufactured homes, or are there extra licenses that I need for to be able to do that, or other requirements?
Well, great question. So what happens here in California, I'm not really sure what other state specific guidelines are, but in California here, if I wanted to go down and get my sales license to sell a manufactured home, which I've already looked into, I've already taken the 1 day class. It was like a 12-hour class. And then after that, you go and you take the test, and then through the Housing and Community Development, which, by the way, replaced the Department of Motor Vehicles, because manufactured homes in 1976, June of 76, they took the manufactured housing business that was through licensing through the Department of Real Estate, and it's called, if you will, it's called pre-HUD. So now the HUD after that would be anything after June of 1976. So they took all those sales, and they put them on market film, and now they're registered as HUD. So back to your point. So the difference between if you're buying the house, with a certain percent, if you're buying it, I'm kind of like jumping around here because there's just kind of so many things involved. So let's say if you wanted to purchase a manufactured home, you didn't know how to do the whole process. So the first thing I would do and recommend for you guys is to go to a park where someone's looking. Talk to the manager, the park manager there, because they're actually the gatekeeper, and say, hi, my name's Mike. I'm with Fathom Realty, and I just wanted to ask you, I have a client looking to buy in here. How can I make your job easy? What requirements do you require of me? 30-day notice of sale if it's a listing, a letter of intent if it's a listing, um, and they appreciate that because they want you, to make their job easy.
Right.
So I identify the property and I get the address. And now in traditional real estate, and I meet a client, I find out what their debt to income is, and then I pre-qualify them based on their income and credit. Now they're qualified to, let's say, 150,000. Whereas in a manufactured home, it's the opposite. You identify one property, and then they plug that into the loan qualifications because the amount of money that you need to put down, the amount of money they'll loan, will be hinged upon the age of the home.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So if I could put an analogy, and maybe this, all analogies break down, but if the mobile home is like buying a car, then the park is like somebody who would own a garage to park that car in, and so
Yes.
first, a good first step, as far as approaching a sale in that park or helping somebody get in a
Uh-huh.
home in that park is to go talk to the garage owner. I mean, you want to make sure that that person, or that you have a relationship with the park owner. But as far as
Absolutely.
licenses, at least in
Hmm.
California, a licensed realtor can sell a manufactured home without
Yes.
additional licenses.
You can sell, the real estate agent can sell manufactured homes as well. The reason why I didn't get my sales license for a manufactured home, because it's got to be held, my sales license would have to be held underneath a manufactured home dealer. And then when I would go get more listings, they would want me to put them underneath the dealer, and that would be a conflict with my company. So I decided not to do that.
Gotcha. Now, when it comes to listing these kind of homes, is that something you just simply put on the MLS like you do in another home, or is there a different kind of marketplace for that,
Wow,
for
that
manufactured
opens
homes?
up yeah. So that kind of opens up a Pandora box about all of um, housing dealers and licenses and realtors and how we market properties. So the advantage to using a California Association or National Association of Realtor is that not only are we going to advertise your property in the multiple listing, it's also going to go on Realtor.com. It's also going to go on all those other websites. Now, in addition to that, there is another completely separate multiple listing service just for manufactured homes, and it's called MH Village. So you can Google that. It's mhvillage.com. It's free, but if you want to advertise and boost your posts on there, you can do that as well. What I do is I advertise all my listings on both, on the MLS and also on MH Village. And it also brings me a lot of potential business off of Zillow. Now, to kind of augment that, Jeff, so what happens is the mobile home dealers don't advertise on the MLS typically because they're not licensed realtors. So, as a licensed real estate agent, getting in selling manufactured homes is a major advantage because you can offer more of a marketing arm and expose their property to more realtors.
Gotcha. So yeah, you have an advantage as a realtor, and that's why this is a niche market that you could get into and sell a lot of property with. So just kind of shifting gears here within manufactured homes, I want to talk a little bit about marketing. You had mentioned earlier, dealing with senior parks, specifically. Are there different kinds of parks, and then in marketing to those, within those different spheres, how does that look?
Excellent. So there are different types of parks. I think there's like 40 to 43,000 different manufactured home parks. I mean, there's a huge amount in the United States. But you have what's called family parks, then you have senior parks. Now, the senior parks is typically anybody that's over 55, and sometimes they'll let the spouse be at least 42 years old. It might vary depending upon the park that you're looking to purchase in or buy in or sell. So the family parks, typically they have a little bit of higher space rent, and the family parks are a little bit less of a space rent typically.
Gotcha. Um, and kind of recap this again. Why are as it relates to seniors, why do they often choose these age-restricted retirement communities rather than assisted living long-term care?
Oh, they're less expensive. They're closer. There's a lot of communities that are closer to the loved ones where they're at, where they can stay close to where they used to live. They're shopping, where they go to church, and their grandkids. So it's more convenient. A lot of those other in-home care facilities are 4, 5, 6 grand a month. I mean, it's just astronomical.
Right.
So it's an alternative. A lot of people are discovering it. I get a lot of calls wanting to place a loved one in one of the homes, and they're going to co-sign for them. Um, but that brings in another realm of the lease agreement. It's like a chateau. You don't own the land, you don't have a permanent foundation, so you have to also not only get qualified for the loan, but you have to get qualified for the lease.
Gotcha. Um, as far as how you market yourself as the guy to go to in order to help people move into these kind of homes, how do you do that? What kind of approach have you taken?
Oh, well, what I'll do is I'll find a community that people are engaging, or I have a really good listing in. I'll do the flyers. Open houses are excellent. People love to come in and talk to you and find out what you're doing, find out what the neighbor's house looks like. Sometimes I'll do like handwritten letters or note cards, or if someone comes in and talks to me, I'll say, "What are you in today?" Do the normal open house script. I'll do flyers. I'll do postcards. I do advertise in a local magazine where people get it in the mail. It comes out every 2 months. Um, and then obviously your traditional channels through, the MLS, MH Village, through Zillow, Trulia, all the whole gamut there.
And where in that where are you finding the most success?
The most success I'm finding actually is in the leads that I get from the MH Village. I pay to boost my listings on there, and I'm also putting stuff on Instagram now, because that you can send it right into Facebook. An inexpensive way to do it is I'll list a property, I'll put it on Facebook, and then I'll share it to all the local communities in my neighborhood. Whether it's Craigslist, Orange County, or it's buy and sell in my city, local specific. And you'd be surprised, people will call you and look you up and want to talk about your property. Most of the time, they're looking for a family park. So if you're going to do this as a full-time job, you want to make sure that you're working in the senior park and the family park at the same time, so you have a place for the other clients to put them.
Very good. Um, Now, as it comes to lending, and I know you've talked about a little bit about this, and I don't want to spend too much time here, but you've already established that this isn't a traditional mortgage. It's not on permanent property that the home is associated with. So how does that look, and how do payments then differ from just traditional real estate?
Oh, way, way different. I always tell people in the very beginning, hey, listen, you're not going to get a 3.75% interest rate in a manufactured home. It just does not exist. So the term is typically 20 to 23 years long. Manufactured lenders there's only a few, and there's only a few. Like, I can name the ones here that are in California, but only one of them that I know of works nationwide. But if you need names of lenders, I can help you, or we can direct you in some direction. But what's kind of interesting with the financing on manufactured homes is there's really, in California, you can get a VA loan for a manufactured home, but it takes 6 months. It's crazy, to get the loan. 6 months to fund it. So who's going to put their house in escrow for 6 months? So unfortunately, we can't help out our vets on the manufactured homes in California. There's actually no FHA. Um, there's there's in the financing. I was talking to my lender guy today, talking about the guidelines, and he said interest rates, Jeff, are going to be like 6.25% to 11%. And you can buy a manufactured home as low as a 500 FICO if you put down at least 35%. So there is hope out there for people that have bad credit. Now, if you purchase a brand new manufactured home from a dealer, you can go with a 25-year term.
Got it. Got it. Well, thank you for that. Um, One other kind of aspect of that I wanted to ask about, and then I want to kind of shift gears again. Um,
Sure.
since you're not on, again, it's not on the property that you own. How do taxes work then? Are there property taxes, or is it something
So
different as well?
what happens is if it's built before 1978 and it's still in the park, typically it's got a very low property tax. So sometimes, depending on the year of the home, you have the option. So you'll have what's called local property tax. So it'll be on the tax rolls. So let's say, as an example, if you have a home that's about 131,000, your taxes might be like 400 bucks a year. And what's interesting though is the insurance is about the same, 400 to 500 a year. It's surprising. Insurance policies are a little bit higher than normal for
Gotcha.
manufactured homes. Uh-huh.
Well, I appreciate that, and I'm sure we could spend a lot more time on the manufactured home sales, as there is a lot of different sort of rules to it. Would people be safe to reach out to you if they were interested in learning a little bit more about that?
Yeah,
Would
hit
that
me
be
on Fathom Facebook page, anything.
all right?
Absolutely.
Very good. Well, I wanted to shift here, talk a little bit just about your experience as a realtor. You've been doing this for quite a long time. Um, and this is sort of the question that we like to ask a lot of our guests. If you were talking to a newer agent in the business, or your previous self, when you first started, and you're looking to grow your business, what are some things that you would encourage new agents to do to get growing?
Well, get your name out there. People wait for the phone to ring, and typically the phone's not going to ring. So what I did is I put in the back of my window, the name of my company, my brand, and I have my phone number, I have my slogan, so people know that I'm the real estate guy. So when you decide you want to work in manufactured homes, ask if you can do an open house. If there's another, Fathom Realty listing in your area, and if it happens to be in a manufactured home, keep your eyes and your ears open for somebody that is downsizing, that wants to sell their house and looking for more affordable housing.
As far as
Drive through those parks and people. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, there was a little bit of glitch there.
Pardon?
I thought you had stopped speaking. Continue. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. I finished my thought.
Okay. um, as far as doing, there's a little technology issue there. As far as doing open houses, and I know you're a big fan of them. How do you capture clients in the most effective way through open houses?
Well, but open houses, what I'll do is, if it's a high impact area, like as an example, there's a park in Anaheim, and I got a really nice referral from a super nice Fathom agent in Texas. And so I listed this property in Anaheim, and it happens to be a really nice manufactured home. It's like 189,000 price range. So what I did is I wrote a letter and I mailed it to everybody in the park. I went in there, I did an open house, and everybody's friendly. They're nice. People are always walking around, and first thing you want to do is always wave to everybody in the park. And they go, "Who's that guy? Does he know me?" I just be friendly. I wave to everybody. I got a listing because I waved to somebody. So it didn't happen until they got a postcard, but they go, "Yeah, I got to call this guy." So that's the advice I would give you: is be visible, be purposeful, be intentional, and get out there and get to know people and be friendly.
Kind of on that note, we've had other people on the show talk about just the issue of timidity and fear. And I think probably most of us have been there in a business startup where, it's just, you think nobody's going to take you seriously, or you're just afraid to contact someone, maybe because of rejection or whatever it is. Any advice that you would give to somebody to help them get past that kind of hurdle?
Absolutely. So the old acronym FORD: family, occupation, recreation, dream. Do it nonchalantly. Just ask questions about people. Don't be salesy. Just learn about people, their family, their purpose, and why they move there. Ask the qualifying questions. So, Jeff, if you were to move, what would have to happen? I mean, just and then bottom line questions, and I use words and sentences as a lot of people don't use, and they're kind of catchy, and people look at me like, "Well, I can't believe you said that," but they'll remember, and they'll remember conversations, and they'll remember. So when I meet with a client, I'll get their information, and then I'll send them a handwritten note card. And it's back to the old school stuff that belly to belly. I mean, that's what really counts is when people know you care, then they'll want to do business with you.
You had shared a story when we were talking previously, and I don't mean to put you on the spot too much, but about kind of a shift in your thinking that happened when you had met. I think it was a couple on their front porch, and it sort of changed the way you approached reaching out to
Yes.
clients.
Uh, I had some clients. I was farming this neighborhood. It was about 850,000 price range, and it was up in I think Fullerton, California here. And it was in a gated community. And I met this couple sitting out having coffee. And we just had a casual conversation, and we ended up going in to look at his house, and he was asking me advice on, if he was going to put in some upgrades and stuff. And so I gave him my advice and gave him the flyer, and I asked him, is it okay if I keep in contact with you? When he told me he was going to retire in 5 years, and he says absolutely. So every time I went by his house, I took out my black Sharpie and I wrote on there, "Hey Glenn, hope everything's going good with you. Can't wait for you to retire." And then I put it on his. So, 5 years later, I get this phone call in a panic. "Hey, Mike, listen, I need to list my house. I have an agent here. Can you charge 4%?" And I said, "Well, Glenn, it's so good to hear from you. I appreciate the fact that you're reaching out to me. And, out of fairness for you and for myself, I'd love to sit down and meet with you and your wife and go over what I can do for you compared to what the other person's going to do for you." So I set the appointment. When I got there, the first thing he said, "Hey, I want to know right now, can you do this for 4%?" I go, "Of course. Anything else?" I mean, so back to the question. Uh, when you have that calmness and that confidence and that assuredness that you can project to your client, because they all are all going through life and they're experiencing different phases of what they're going through. If you can come across to them and be their real estate consultant, counselor, and assist them, and I tell my clients, you hired me to take away all the stress and all the pressure of selling your home. And that's what I intend to do. So, and this is how I intend to communicate to you. And let me ask your permission. Is it okay to text you? What's the worst time for me to get a hold of you? A lot of people don't understand that you keep calling them on the wrong day, the wrong time, and they get irritated with you. So I said, I want to win with my client as much as I can. And I ask those questions up front. Just like when I list the property, what day is the trash day? What day does the mailman come? Do you have a street sweeper? They're like, "Oh my gosh, this is really happening to me." So those questions make a difference.
Well,
And then of course,
go ahead.
that's okay. And then of course, after, everybody's happy and you get the business, I always take that energy, and then it's just like I got a brand new car and it smells good inside. I take that energy and that focus, and I go out and I spread the news to the neighbors. I spread the news to my database, and I advertise that. We haven't covered this, but I was very fortunate. Um, Last Thursday, made contact with the seller. Friday, I was in there. I listed the property. Saturday, the photographer showed up. I ordered the signs. I didn't have the signs up yet. And then I set up the open house on Sunday, and the seller told me, "Mike, tomorrow's my birthday, Sunday." He goes, "Can you sell my house in one day?" And I said, "Be careful what you wish for."
Right.
I sold it in one day. I wrote an offer at 7 o'clock on Sunday night. Unbelievable. He is really happy right now. So that right there, again, you take that positive information and news and you get it out there and you spread it around to other people that are looking to do business with someone like you. I mean, it doesn't happen all the time, but when it does, there's no reason in advertising it.
Very good. Very practical advice. I appreciate it. Anything else that you want to share, but before we let you go, I appreciate it, and I appreciate you coming on talking about a really niche kind of market that maybe is untapped in a lot of areas for agents. But anything else as you've been able to coach and mentor people?
Yes, Josh. One of the things that I recommend is if there is a the dealers don't like to. Okay, the mobile home dealers work through the housing community development, and they do a different set of paperwork. So and this is one of the main reasons why I got into selling manufactured homes, is because I would find a home and I would show it to my buyer, but it was through a dealer. And a dealer doesn't do the same paperwork, so I have to hand my client over to a manufactured dealer, and now they're susceptible to the disclosures and they're not getting represented the way that I would like them to be represented. So that's why I went out and got manufactured listings for clients, because realtors have the forms they use from the National Association, the California Association of Realtors. All the contracts and forms are different. So if you get into manufactured homes, know that if a listing is through a dealer, it's going to be difficult for you to represent that client. So you're better off getting listings out of your multiple listing, or else going out and getting listings on your own. It's because they don't even cooperate. And one last comment on that, Jeff, is that interestingly enough, manufactured home dealers don't have to cooperate with each other. Isn't that crazy? Whereas realtors, we have to cooperate with everybody. I think that's, and that's, I have more to do, but for the sake of time, more to tell you. But for the sake of time, if anyone wants to reach out to me, I'd be glad to share some of my horror stories and success stories.
Well, you've got the floor. I mean, if there's anything else that you want to throw in there, please do. This has all been just golden. Any last words?
Well, also, one last process there is when you buy the house, the park has to do an inspection on the property. So a lot of people forget about that. So the park will come in and sometimes they'll tell the seller, hey, before you sell it, you need to change the carpet out front, or you need to paint your house. And it doesn't set well with a senior citizen that's on a limited budget. So I always try and let them know, everything's subject to the park, inspection.
Gotcha. So it's something additional than, I mean, almost like an HOA kind of idea that you're having to.
That's absolutely correct.
Having to deal with. Well, thank you so much. Really appreciate it, and good luck to you as you continue in that market and your regular real estate business.
Thank you. Appreciate your time. Bye-bye.
All right, we'll let you go. Before we let the rest of you go, though, we want to encourage you to check out a company that works for you rather than you working for them, and that is this company, Fathom Realty. We offer 100% commission and the tools designed for your success. There is support at multiple levels. There are multiple avenues and opportunities in technology. You have your agent services, you have your district director, you have your agent community, a lot of different ways in which you can get service as a real estate agent. Also, we have a guest coming on. Check us out, by the way, at fathomcareers.com. I don't know if that was up there on the top or whatever, but fathomcareers.com. You can learn more. You can learn so much from that website. Next week, we have our guest is Keith Campbell. Keith is an expert in home maintenance and repair. He's been a general contractor on about 80 homes that were built or remodeled. He is a licensed inspector, and he and his wife sell real estate. So the guy has just a ton of advice as it relates to dealing with inspections and how to hire an inspector and how to interact with your inspector and to be able to provide the best experience for your clients as possible. I really would recommend not missing next week's show. So make sure that you do hit that notification bell on YouTube there, and when you see the post come on Facebook about the next week's show, hit the little get reminder thing. That will help you not to miss it. And you can ask, Keith has a wealth of information. In fact, he even has his own podcast that he does on real estate and home inspections. So really encourage you to be ready with questions for him next week at 1:30 p.m. Central Time. As always, we'll see you then.